Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Joe Sampson, Blueprint Implementation Coordinator and Coordinator of Maryland Lee's Grant for Calvert County Public Schools, and welcome to our event tonight, our CCPS Virtual Town Hall Meeting number 1. Tonight we have our superintendent who will give us a few words, Dr. Townsell.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wow, it's been a long day. Hope everyone's doing well. Dr. Townsell here, Superintendent of Calvert County Public Schools. I'm very excited to support this opportunity for a town hall. As we all know, the Blueprint for Maryland's Future is a landmark legislation passed in 2021, which includes comprehensive changes to nearly every aspect of Maryland's public education system, increasing annual education funding by over $3.8 billion over the next 10 years. The Blueprint will enrich student experience, accelerate improvements to student outcomes, and improve the quality of education in Maryland. I'm confident with the team that we have here in Calvert County Public Schools, we'll be able to not only set the bar, meet the bar, exceed the bar, but raise the bar in pillars 1, early childhood education, pillar 2, high quality in teacher diversity and leaders, pillar 3, college and career readiness, pillar 4, more resources for all students to be successful, and last, pillar 5, governance and accountability. So I'm happy to learn and listen with you all. And with that said, I will land my plane and turn the mic back to Dr. Sampson.
Thank you, Dr. Townsell. So just a bit of housekeeping for tonight. We will have an opportunity for Q&A, and following the pillar 3 portion of the presentation, we will turn on the question and answer chat so that you can type in your questions and have responses to those that will be made public as well. And then just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared, and the link that you used to access the meeting will be the same link that you used to access the recording. So again, the meeting will be recorded and shared and use the same link after this meeting is done. So just to introduce our team who are here, and we'll start at the top from left to right and then work our way down. We have Mr. Mark Willis, who is our county administrator. Ms. Britta Sparks, who's a supervisor in instruction. Mr. James Kurtz, our director of student services. Ms. Jackie Jacobs, our director of system and instructional support. Me, myself, Joe Sampson, Blueprint Coordinator, Dr. Susan Johnson, our Chief Academic Officer, Mr. Tony Navarro, Chief Operations Officer, and Mr. Joe Sutton, Supervisor of Mathematics. So the folks that I've named tonight are all part of our steering committee. We also have Mr. Sandy Walker, who is our Supervisor of Equity, who chairs one of our work groups for Pillar 4. And so Ms. Britta Sparks is here as part of that work group for Pillar 4 tonight. And our work group chairs are Ms. Jackie Jacobs, Mr. Tony Navarro, Mr. Joe Sutton, Mr. Sandy Walker, and Mr. James Kurtz. And Mr. Mark Willis, again, serves as our county administrator. And he works with me as a co-chair for our Calvert County Blueprint Committee. Now, the origin of the Calvert County Blueprint Committee, it was a joint collaboration between the Calvert County Commissioners and our Calvert County Board of Education to provide some accountability for us and transparency to be able to have open lines of communication. So the purpose of the committee is really to have an open lines of communication and make sure that they being the commissioner's office is a support to us, and then our communication is open and transparent with them when it comes to implementing the blueprint. So the structure of that committee, there are members who were appointed by the commissioners members appointed by the Board of Education, and we all come together. We meet monthly, following a protocol and an agenda, and are all having the same common goal of putting out the best product possible when it comes to our blueprint implementation plan. So the overview of the blueprint, as Dr. Townsell mentioned, is a landmark piece of legislation with the idea of transforming early childhood, primary, and secondary education across the state of Maryland to the levels of school systems across the world, not just in the United States. So when the research was done, a lot of the research was centered on school systems across the world in order to make Maryland school systems the best possible. And also the goal is to establish a system for educators across multiple levels so that they can advance and progress, incentives are in place, and basically we want to elevate the teaching profession across the state of Maryland, similar to what different professions in the private sector do with their exams and their levels of certification. Those are the things that this blueprint is aimed to do for the teaching profession in Maryland. The governing body of the blueprint legislation is the Accountability and Implementation Board, which is also referred to as the AIB. Governor Hogan appointed 7 members in October of 2021, and the initial meeting was in November. And the AIB is responsible for overseeing the implementation of the blueprint, as well as evaluating the blueprint implementation for all the school systems across the state of Maryland. They do have the final authority if there's a conflict between policy and what the AIB has set forth and other entities. And then future meeting dates are posted on the Maryland General Assembly website. And the AIB also has a website that they have information posted. All meetings, all past meetings are also posted with agendas and links to their YouTube channel for the meetings. So as stated a couple times before, there are 5 policy areas or pillars, and each pillar focuses on a different aspect of education. And pillar 1 is early childhood education. Pillar 2, high quality and diverse teachers and leaders. Pillar 3, college and career readiness. Pillar 4, more resources to ensure all students are successful. And pillar 5, governance and accountability. And so now we are going to have an overview, just a brief overview of our timeline of where we are and what we're planning to do going forward before March. And so our plan writing has begun. We got templates that were provided once the AIB approved the draft implementation plan template. It was provided to us, and we have in our work groups started writing our plan. The first draft of the plan is due. Our internal due date is February 1st. So between now and the end of January, we'll commence to plan writing. And then that first week of February, our draft plan will be reviewed by our steering committee and the Calvert County Blueprint Committee. We'll then have a formal presentation for the Board of Education in terms of where we are with our implementation plan. And then in February, date to be announced, we will have our second town hall meeting, but that one won't be an information overview of the blueprint. It'll be sharing our implementation plan and getting input from our stakeholders. So then March 1st, our goal is to have another review of our plan and then recommendations from our steering committee and Calvert County Blueprint Committee. On March 9th, we'll have another Board of Education presentation, and that is hoped to be the final draft of our implementation plan, pending any final recommendations. And then our final draft of the implementation plan is due on March 15th to the AIB and MSDE. So that is our timeline in a nutshell. And now we will transition to our Pillar 1 discussion with Ms. Jacobs.
Good evening. Pillar 1 Early Childhood focuses on investing in high-quality early childhood education and care, specifically targeting for a significant expansion of full-day pre-kindergarten to be free for all low-income 3- and 4-year-olds. The expansion would take place over a period of years, starting with 4-year-olds and moving to 3-year-olds. It would give top priority to families and students living in the greatest poverty, both in terms of access and quality. The blueprint uses a tiered system to identify eligibility for enrollment in full-day pre-kindergarten programs. Tier 1 are 3- or 4-year-olds whose family income is less than or equal to 300% of the federal poverty level. Tier 2 are 4-year-olds whose family income is more than 300%, but less than 600% of the federal poverty level. If space is available, families in the Tier 2 category will pay on a sliding scale a portion of the tuition to attend. Currently, most of Calvert County Public Schools pre-kindergarten programs are half-day programs. As our system meets the blueprint requirements, Calvert County Public Schools will move our current half-day programs for 4-year-olds to full-day programs. This move will reduce the number of available pre-kindergarten slots. The blueprint looks to partner with the expansion of pre-kindergarten through the combined efforts of the public school system and private providers. Calvert County Public Schools is currently working with Head Start to help expand the number of full-day pre-kindergarten slots for the upcoming school year. Calvert County Public Schools is interested in supporting private providers in completing the Pre-Kindergarten Expansion Grant. The Pre-Kindergarten Expansion Grant is a competitive grant program administered by the Maryland State Department of Education. It provides funding for local education agencies and private providers to administer high-quality pre-kindergarten. In addition to providing private providers funding, the grant also creates a partnership with the local school system by providing professional learning and support for all pre-kindergarten students. The overall outcome of the blueprint for Pillar 1 is for all children to have the opportunity to begin kindergarten ready to learn. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Navarro, Chief Operations Officer, to share information regarding Pillar 2.
Pillar 2, high quality and diverse teachers and leaders, has several tenets. Emphasis on high quality and diverse teachers by making teaching a high status profession by raising the pay and status of teachers, including a performance-based career ladder, a minimum statewide salary, and salaries comparable to similarly educated professionals. The Calvert County Public Schools will raise teacher pay to make it equitable with other highly trained professionals with the same amount of education, and the career ladder will be in place on July 1st, 2024. Recruiting and retaining. Improve recruiting and professional development efforts to create and sustain a teaching faculty that better reflects the racial and ethnic makeup of the student body. Higher education institutions are going to take advantage of national foundation supports to develop highly qualified teachers and leaders from diverse backgrounds. Specifically, CCPS will recruit and support high quality and diverse teachers to meet the workforce needs, especially a workforce that better reflects the racial and ethnic makeup of the student body. A redesign of schools to be places where teachers are treated as professionals with a system of incentives and supports. A career ladder continues to continuously improve their professional practice and the performance of their students. A career ladder composes of several levels. Level 1 is a state certified teacher. Level 2 is a teacher pursuing an NBC. Level 3 is a NBC teacher. And level 4 is a teacher on the teacher leadership track or an administrative leadership track. The career ladder shall adequately compensate professional teachers for their work, support and encourage teachers working in teams to systematically improve schools and curricula, provide teachers with the opportunity to identify and work with students who need extra help, including providing teachers time during the school day to take on those other pursuits, and provide teachers with the opportunity to develop their skills and knowledge by participating in job-embedded professional development. A fourth tenet of Pillar 2 is promoting national board certification and restructuring the teacher preparation program. National board certification. This program, CCPS, started information sessions on NBC with the first session in October of 2021. We reviewed the blueprint, what is national board certification, reviewed the process, including eligibility prerequisites, certification areas, cost, and the timeline. NBC teachers receive a salary increase of $10,000. In addition, teacher preparation programs at institutions of higher education will become more rigorous. At this time, I will turn over pillar number 3, college and career readiness, to Joe Sutton, Supervisor of Instruction.
Pillar 3, college and career readiness, is all about preparing all students to develop an in-depth specialization toward a career pathway before they leave secondary school. The first component is all about establishing a meaningful college and career ready system and standard statewide. Students that are college and career ready should be ready to succeed in advanced college and career training and work during the last 2 years in high school. The current way that students can earn college and career readiness is through passing the ELA 10 MCAP state test and a high school math state test. The Maryland State Department of Education is currently studying additional factors that would be able to predict college and career readiness. Our second requirement is all about maximizing the number of students who can attain that college and career readiness by the end of 10th grade. Through a system of early warning systems that can include readiness to read in 3rd grade, readiness for kindergarten, readiness for high school, and an early warning system by the end of 9th grade, it's on Calvert County Public Schools to provide a series of supports and structures to ensure that all students are ready to transition into college and career readiness preparation. A third requirement of the blueprint is that Maryland districts work toward empowering all students to be better prepared to transition from a foundational academic education to one that is increasingly focused for a career immediately out of secondary school by the end of their 10th grade year. The blueprint authors envision districts enacting college career readiness pathways, or post-CCR pathways, through which students spend increasingly more time earning college credits and job certifications in advanced placement or IB courses, dual enrollment opportunities, and career and technical education, developing in-depth specialization before leaving secondary schooling. The post-CCR pathways are intended to be available at no cost for students that are college and career ready. The fourth requirement is about helping individuals and businesses match with each other. There are always jobs without people, and there are always people without jobs in a community because who and what is available does not always match up. Maryland will be required to be more strategic to help our workforce and our students find one another ready to succeed. This will most likely involve partnerships with external groups. I'll now pass it to Britta Sparks, Instructional Supervisor, to discuss Pillar 4.
Good evening. I'm providing an overview of Pillar 4, which is titled More Resources to Ensure All Students Are Successful. The goal of Pillar 4 is to elevate the overall student performance of Maryland students to an international standard, while also eliminating opportunity and achievement gaps. The Kirwan Commission wants to ensure a focus on students who often struggle in the classroom by providing more resources as needed. The Commission also purposely refers to students who need more support as at promise rather than at risk. They want to emphasize at promise because students have the promise to be successful if the educational system is designed to meet their needs. This thinking has been foundational as Calvert County Public Schools works to create an implementation plan for Pillar 4. The blueprint for Maryland's future requires us to provide supplemental instruction and resources to meet the diverse needs of all learners. To meet the diverse needs of individual students, it's important for us to identify individual student needs and to provide early supports and interventions. Academic and behavioral health screeners, both required by the blueprint, will help us to identify the strengths and areas for growth for every child in math and reading, as well as social emotional supports. This will enable us to better identify individual student needs and to provide targeted supports. This work is not meant to be done as a school system in isolation from community organizations. The community partnerships we establish will allow us to leverage more resources to help us meet the needs of our students. The blueprint requires us to work with our mental health coordinator to enrich and expand our partnerships with local health organizations. Additionally, the blueprint requires all certificated staff to be trained in suicide prevention and trauma. While we have traditionally been trained in these areas, we will continue to enhance this training to ensure that we are meeting the ever-evolving needs of our students. In conclusion, we will keep in mind that our students at Promise can be successful when we strategically identify and support their needs. And now I'd like to move on to Pillar 5.
Good evening. Policy Area 5 is governance and accountability and outlines state and local guidelines governing the accountability of the blueprint for Maryland's future. There is an independent oversight board, the AIB, or Accountability and Implementation Board, that has developed a timeline for the comprehensive implementation plan, including key milestones, developing guidelines and criteria for locals to submit detailed implementation plans consistent with the comprehensive implementation plan, reviewing and approving local plans, monitoring implementation, gathering data to analyze the impact of student achievement, contracting with experts, and reporting progress for the governor annually. For funding, not less than 25% of new funds available to schools and school systems for initial funding of implementation plans will be released subject to approval by the AIB based on appropriate implementation of any recommendations made by MSDE and the CTE committee and recommendations made by the Oversight Board. And not less than 75% of enrollment-based formula funds allocated to school systems or schools on the basis of the needs of students enrolled in the school will flow down to the school and are to be used by the school to educate the children in that school. The design assumptions and implementation decisions stated for this are that there are to be strong incentives for implementation of recommendations made by expert review teams to achieve progress of underserved student groups. It is noted that the committee does not believe in withholding funds solely based on student performance, and poor performance should trigger more intensive monitoring by expert review teams. This concludes the summary for Area 5.
At this time, our Q&A chat is live and open. And so if there are any questions, please click on the chat and feel free to type in your question and we will respond. All right, we'll wait a couple of minutes for questions to roll in. And at 6:30, we will wrap up. So we'll wait another few minutes and then we will wrap up at 6:30. So just an FYI for all of you, our next steps in this work, we are going to continue to work with our focus groups. We started with focus group questions with our principals, and then also our bargaining units are responding to questions to give insight into things that we should consider as we prepare to write this implementation plan. So focus groups with principals, questions with our bargaining units. We are also going to do focus groups with teachers, support staff, and other administrators, as well as community members. So our next phase in the focus group questions are with our Calvert County Blueprint Committee. And so those members will be answering those questions and will hope to give us valuable insight for our next steps. All right, well, thank you all again for attending. And if you need more information, as always, this and other Blueprint information will be published on our CCPS website on the Blueprint page. And we will also be posting things on Twitter through social media. And you can always email us if you have any questions. Thanks again and have a good night.